Hey there, gang. It has been a few days, but it is time for another comic book unboxing video, and we have here really just a short stack. We're going to ease back into things with this little box of remnants, things that didn't quite fit in some of the other boxes that I'm working on. So even though Robin has been our mascot in several of the last few videos, we're going to have him again because, hey, you got a short stack. Best to have that presented by the fellow with the short pants. So if you like comic books, stick around. We're going to have some fun. Hey there, Bubby. Welcome to Shanghalla. My name is Duke, and this is an unboxing video. And so, yeah, I have been away for a few days, but we're easing back into things with this short box. So please do like, share, subscribe, comment away. And I want to thank everybody for my boogers. Those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, well, there's a reason you don't know, and you're going to need to figure out on your own. But if everyone sticks around to the end of the video, I'll tell you all about the boogers and what we're going to do with those boogers in the future. So I guess let's get right to it. One bit of thing I will mention here as we pull out the first few books. I seem to have misplaced my Legion flight ring. That is what I normally wear in these videos. So I have substituted my orange lantern ring just to sort of drive home how jealous I know you must be looking at these books. But I remind you, these are not my books. I work for a company that buys and sells comic books online. My job is to grade those books. So yeah, that's what's going on here. All of these books will be going on eBay, although shortly some of the books may be going up on an app you may not have heard of. I just learned about it this past week myself. It's called Whatnot. It's live auctions. And so I think within the next week or so, we're going to start doing some auctions there. So more about that at the end of this video as well. So let's get going. Jack Armstrong, number 13, the All-American Boy of radio fame. I don't know much about Jack Armstrong. I'm just kind of passingly familiar with the name. But these All-American Boys, that was a real genre of fiction. Before superheroes, before science fiction, this was kind of the wish fulfillment of the American boy, to read about that perfect Uber boy. So, yeah, he had a radio show. I don't know how long it lasted. I don't seem to recall that Jack Armstrong ever made the leap to movies or TVs. Maybe there was a serial. Let me know in the comments below if you know more. I don't even know how long this book lasted. I don't even know who published this book. There's no publishing mark on it anywhere. This little star up here in the corner, I think maybe a distributor mark of some kind, but yeah, this is early enough in the industry that nobody really thought to identify the publisher of the book, that, you know, people might buy just based on who the publisher was as opposed to just the character. But that's pretty cool. True Comics, and this, true to its title, was in fact all true stories. This was published by a parents group. They published a couple of books. There was also a magazine that they published. I'm not sure if it's the actual Parents magazine that's still around today. But yeah, these were all true stories. Unfortunately, somebody has taken a pencil and, you know, colored in the logo and each of these titles. So it'll be interesting once I get into this book and do the actual grading to see how much graffiti there might be inside of it. And there's a little note here on the back, a little hard to read, but it looks like it says, story about Desmond Doss. Initially, I thought it was dogs, and I'm like, what are Desmond dogs? But I think it's Desmond Doss. I think this says conscientious objector in World War II, won the Medal of Honor from something, Virginia. Lynchburg is a town, I think, in Virginia, but that doesn't seem like it says Lynchburg. I don't know. But I assume that that is this story, Hero Without a Gun. Looks like he was a medic of some kind. So that's interesting. It would be kind of neat to have something like that today. You would think some kind of nonfiction comic book would do well with the scholastic crowd. But there you go. And lastly, not lastly for the box, but lastly of these three books that you may have seen in the original picture that were leaning up because they didn't quite fit in the box. These are, you know, true Golden Age books. Tex Granger, number 18, Fighting Frontier Sheriff. So I don't know anything about Tex Granger. I don't know if he was original to comics, if he was a fictional character from some other medium. I don't know if there was a real Tex Granger. A lot of these cowboy heroes, they were either characters, in the movie serials or TV or regular movies, or else, in books. If it wasn't, in fact, a real person, it was a character. So I don't know if there really was a Tex Granger anywhere else. This probably will not do that well. Western books don't seem to do well for us at all, or certainly not as well as they should anyway, considering, the age of this book. And it's in fairly decent. It's probably a 3.5 maybe. Just a quick eyeball of it. But the Westerns don't do well. That'll probably go for like maybe $6 or $7, unfortunately. But if you know who Tex Granger is, if he is actually somebody other than strictly a comic book character, let me know in the comments below. Elucidate us all. Elucidate? I don't know why I said elucidate. It's a small elucidation. A very tiny elucidation is, in fact, an elucidate. As opposed to a lesbian elucidation, that would be an elucidike. I don't know why my videos don't get banned. All right, so now we're moving on to the regular comic books in this box. X-Men 244. We've seen this before, and I told you that I really don't like this cover. I feel like this cover is just like an initial sketch, that they were like, screw it, just use it. We're behind deadline. But this is the first appearance of Jubilee, so that will do well. This one, 303. I don't know why this is in here. And I say, for those of you who don't know, if you're not a regular viewer of these videos, our singles, the books that we sell on eBay as a raw single, meaning a book that has not been graded and slabbed by CGC or some other similar service, and it's just a one book lot. We call that a raw single. We like to get at least $10. That's because we've sort of figured out that under $7, when you figure, overhead, labor costs, the cost of acquiring the collection, somewhere around $6 or $7, we actually lose money on the book. So we'd like to get at least 10, give us a little bit of money to kind of reinvest, above the break-even mark. But I don't know why this would be a $10 book. If you know in the comments below, let me know. If I figure it out, I'll pop it on screen for you. This one we know, this is the first appearance of Bishop, although it's really not much more than a cameo inside the book, but there he is. That's Forge, and I don't know if I even know who that guy is. I wasn't reading X-Men at this time, and this may seem like a long time ago to you. This is early 90s, and of course that is a long time ago. It's 30-some-odd years ago. Weird to think that's a 30-year-old comic book. I mean, when I was just starting collecting in the mid-70s, if you had given me a 30-year-old comic book, that would have been what, 1945, 46? I would have lost my mind. But now you give somebody a 30-year-old comic book and it's like, whatever. And this still seems new to me, because I had stopped reading the X-Men long before this point. I kind of bailed around issue 200. And I've told, this is another story I've told, the regulars have heard this, but when John Romita Jr. came on the book, I wasn't a big fan of his art. And if you like J.R. Jr., good for you. Don't let me tell you what you shouldn't like. But it wasn't for me. And around the time he introduced Rachel Summers, it seemed to me like Chris Claremont was kind of losing the thread of the plot a little bit. So I bailed right around issue 200 of Uncanny X-Men, even though earlier on, that had been one of my favorite all-time books. But characters like Jubilee and Gambit and Bishop, they mean nothing to me. I mean, I didn't even watch them on the cartoon, because I don't think I've ever seen an episode of the X-Men cartoons. This one doesn't do well. It keeps showing up in these single boxes, and I keep saying we shouldn't try and sell it as a single, because this will only go for $5 or $6. But the reason this is in here, X-Force number 2, is because it's the second appearance of Deadpool. And with a lot of characters, second, third, fourth appearance, that's still good money. But Deadpool, it's all first appearance or nothing. X-Force number 11, this is the first real appearance of Domino. Up until this point, she had been a character called Copycat, posing as Domino. So this is sort of the first real appearance. And, it's funny. I have indexed some books on the Grand Comics database, and so have managed to glom myself onto their discussion email list. And recently they have been having this raging debate over how to list a character, their first appearance, but then their first real appearance, when that first appearance was actually somebody else in disguise as them, or different variations on that. How do they determine which one is the first appearance? What do they call the other first appearance? And last I saw, because that email list is it's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot like, I used to many lifetimes ago, I was active in the Libertarian Party, and you had never seen anybody like a group of libertarians for beating up a comma, debating the platform or whatever. They would just argue for hours over whether it should be a comma or where it should be placed. And so it's a lot of those kind of that tone of debate on that mailing list. So I don't read all of the emails. So I don't know if they resolved this or not, what they're going to call it now. But anyway, if you've got an opinion, you can go to GCD. The comics.org is the website, and you can maybe contact somebody and let them know. This is in decent grade. This is a lot more popular than you would think. This is the Marvel Milestone edition of X-Men #1. So that's a very affordable reprint of that first issue. So there you go. If it was me, if I was in charge of Marvel Comics, I would have one or two reprint series anyway, reprinting all of the older stuff, especially if something was going on that month in the books. I'd feature a reprint with the first appearance of that character or something. But monetize your inventory. X-Men 248. I think this is the first Jim Lee art at Marvel. I might be wrong about that, but I think that's what the big whoop is about this issue. Now this one, I don't think there's anything special about Sarge Snorkel #4. Sarge Snorkel is, of course, from Beetle Bailey. I don't know how many of you read newspaper comic strips anymore, or I don't even know if Beetle Bailey is still being published, if Mort Walker's sons are still doing that or not. But see, this is a book that I feel should be a $15, $20 book, and in the price guides it probably is. It's in pretty decent grade. It's probably about a 7. That'll probably go for $2 or $3. I don't know. It's one of those things where if I was just thinking about the money, I would not list this as a single. I would stick it in a multi-book lot. But it's one of those things that I just think it's neat. It's something people should see. This is the kind of thing that we'll do more than things like this. But when we go to the Whatnot app, I think this is something that will do better there than it will on eBay. Wolverine #10 was a big deal. Sabretooth battle. Everyone loves this. Hard to get in high grade because of this white cover and the paper stock that they were using at this time. This browns up something awful. So it looks like very dirty snow. These, I say these because I've been through these books. Usually a lot of times when I do one of these unboxings, I haven't seen what's in the box, but this one I did because I grabbed a few odds and ends that didn't fit in the other boxes, and so because of that I have seen them. But here we've got the 50th issue and the 75th issue, and I think if it were up to me, this is something we would save for Whatnot, and we would probably do a 2-book lot. The 50th, the 75th, and I think this series went to 100. Too bad we don't have the 100 as well, but these are foil covers, all the rage at the time. I'm not sure these are going to get $10 on eBay, but on Whatnot, as a lot, I bet they would. So we'll see. Those might end up on the Whatnot. This next book is another one that I can't tell you why this one was set aside. Again, I grabbed it with the stack that was waiting for a box, but it was the owner who set this aside, and I don't know why. Uncanny X-Men 297. What's the big whoop about that? You'll have to let me know, or I'll let you know when I look it up. This is cool. Bizarro Crypto. You can't beat that. Superboy #82. That's nice. I like that. Superboy #90. Still 10 cents. Lana and Lois. Oh my goodness. This horrid time telescope, which looks into the future because you need to be told what a time telescope does. So That's the way writing was at this time. Well, of course, the readership was much younger. I mean, the average reader of Superboy in the early mid 60s was probably 8, 9, 10, 12 at the most. So, he did have to explain this horrid time telescope, which looks into the future, in case you couldn't figure out what a time telescope did. Maybe a time telescope would take close-up pictures of watches. Maybe that's what you thought it did. It reveals that when Superboy grows up into Superman, because again, what else would he grow up into? Maybe today Superboy would grow up into Superwoman and take all the Super Olympic medals away from Supergirl and the other female superheroes. Sorry, getting political. That'll cost me some viewers. He'll forget me for that reporter, Lois Lane. Now, how does he know, or she, I should say, how does she know that Lois Lane is going? Oh, I guess they're at the Daily Planet in the editorial office. Well, from that view, I would assume that Lois is an editor. Of course, at this time, you couldn't possibly believe that a woman would be an editor. Although, I was a newspaper reporter for about 15 years, and about 3/4 of my editors were women. So there's that. And forgive me for I'd better do something about it now. Well, there you go. Trying to change the future, which, I mean, if you're in the present, I guess you could do. I don't know. All right, we talked about that one enough. Strange Tales, Human Torch, number 118. Another Marvel masterwork, also starring Doctor Strange. So 118, that's a fairly early Doctor Strange appearance. It's not a very good, well, I guess it's okay. It's not totally beat up, but it's not the best condition. But this is right around the time they were beginning to realize, because what did Human Torch start in? Strange Tales 101, I think? And they were breaking him out to be a solo star because, the Human Torch got busted out into his own series in Strange Tales right about concurrently with Fantastic Four number 7. So, right away they tried to make him the big whoop. But then they kind of realized that it was really the Thing that resonated with readers, not the Human Torch. Which, you can understand why they would have thought that, because, the Human Torch had been a popular character in the 40s, right up almost into the 50s. And he was a teenager, so you would have expected there was that kind of reader identification. But no, people really liked the hard luck Ben Grimm story. So it was right about this time that they started co-featuring the Thing. And he had a few appearances with the full Fantastic Four, and then it was a Human Torch Thing co-feature. And then they got the boot entirely in favor of Nick Fury. So it's the return of the Wizard, Master of Evil. Life with Archie. Now, what issue number is this? It's got to be an early one because the number's not on the cover. And again, it's something we've talked about in the past that, at one time you didn't want a low issue number because it was hard to sell a low issue number. Distributors and retailers wouldn't carry it because, it was an untested product. A high issue number was the way to go. This one isn't that low though. It's number 27. Looking at the indicia here. So, I don't know what makes this one special. I'm just looking at, seemed like the centerfold is detached. And, nope, I guess it's in there well enough. So, I don't know. I don't know why that one should be a single. We'll see. Flyman, number 31. Originally, this series was Adventures of the Fly, and then just kind of The Fly. And then at some point, they were like, oh, no, it's not. The reason it's not selling well enough is it hasn't got a superhero-y enough name. He can't be just a fly. He's got to be Flyman. Anyway, that's what they did. But here we've got the Mighty Crusaders, the Shield, Black Hood, and the Comet. The Fly, and I made this mistake a couple of videos back of referring to the Fly as a Golden Age character, but he was invented in the Silver Age. These others are Golden Age characters, but not so the Fly. Oh, what's this upside down? What is this? Yum-and-um. Oh, more than Yum-and-um. What the hell is it? Kangaroo seal. All right, so what the hell's the product? I guess it's Kraft Vanilla Caramels. Well, is it caramel or vanilla? There's a chocolate caramel. Interesting. Oh, and look at that. It's Tip Top Comics, a fairly late issue. And you may think that, well, Nancy, who's going to buy a Nancy comic book? Even with Captain and the Kids. Well, these books are actually quite popular because early appearances in comic books of Charlie Brown and the Peanuts Gang. And these would be probably reprints of early comic strips. Let's see if we can find it in here. There it is. There's some Charlie Brown. And it looks like it is reprints of comic strips, because these 4 panels would have been one strip back when a strip was, longer than 2 inches. And then that bottom 4 would have been another strip. So there's some fairly early. I have the Fantagraphics complete Charlie Brown, at least through the beginning of the series through, I think, up into the 1970s. So that's like 8 or 9 or 10 volumes. And I don't recall this little robot sequence right off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure that is from the comic strip. So anyway, that's why somebody would want that. The rest of these going to be upside down. I guess they are, aren't they? Well, let's just go ahead and turn them upside right then. Tower of Shadows, number 4. It's a 70s Marvel horror book. I think these are original stories, or at least the lead story in this is original. And then there may be some 50s reprints. Tower of Shadows, number 1, and that's a pretty nice condition there. Casper, well, Casper number 7 though, but I don't know. Did Casper renumber at some point? I know it started out as Casper the Friendly Ghost, and then it became the Friendly Ghost Casper, and then reverted back to Casper the Friendly Ghost. But what year is this? Number 7. It just feels like it's later than a number 7 would be. Let me see if I can look at this off the screen here. Well, it says 1959, so I guess that makes sense. So it's not in really good condition, and Casper's not something that would sell for us well on eBay at all, but 1959, number 7. And this is a distributor mark here. And this was important so that, the sub-distributors knew which books to pick up at the newsstands. Because they didn't know. They're dealing in hundreds and hundreds of titles, both comic books and magazines. So they just looked for this. And this, I believe, is Publishers Distribution Corporation, that PDC. So that was one of the bigger distributors. And so what is this one? This is Casper. This is even a lesser grade, but that is Casper number 8. It might do well because it's such a low number, single digits. All right, this is it in this box here. Joe Palooka, and somebody has written all over this thing. It's kind of in low grade. You can see the chipping here at the edges. America's most famous comic hero. Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true. He was a big newspaper strip, but it looks like this book belonged to Dewey Stevens, and then at some point either it belonged to Joe or somebody just liked copying Joe's name. I don't know, but this is a Harvey comic book. What issue number is this? I can't see. It looks like there's a piece out of the cover here, and I think that's where the issue number was. Ham Fisher, though, so that's cool. Oh, what does this say? Joe Palooka, Volume 2, Number 13, Harvey Comics, October 1947. Wow. And then it says art by Bob Powell. Well, that's a big deal, too. Ha! Ha! Oops, I knocked over Robin. Sorry about that. That is the one fallback of having a mascot here now. There we go. Heroic Comics. This was put out by Eastern Color Press, the same outfit that did Famous Funnies, the first ongoing comic book series. Now every month. And this was much like that True Comics that we saw. Oh, see here, just so you know I'm not a liar, it says so right there. It's a Famous Funnies publication. Much like that True Comics we saw earlier, I believe Heroic Comics was, if not always, at least this point, a lot of nonfiction stories. It was supposed to be an educational. Now, ANC, that is American News Corporation. And so that was the actual biggest distributor at the time. And this thing right here, it says authorized ACMP conforms to the Comics Code. The ACMP, and I forget what that stood for. I think it's Association of Comic Magazine Publishers. That sounds right to me. But you may be familiar with the Comics Code Authority. I mean, if you're a newer reader and collector, maybe you don't know what the CCA was, but it was a self-censorship outfit that the comic book publishers fell to in the mid-50s when there was this big scare over comic books causing juvenile delinquency. And so the CCA was invented to really tone down the comic books, make them conform. You couldn't do a lot of things, especially early in the CCA's existence. You couldn't use the word weird in a comic book title. You couldn't show any occult stuff, no vampires, no werewolves. The law always had to win. The villain could never triumph. You couldn't show policemen in any kind of, denigrating, derogatory fashion. So you couldn't have like a corrupt cop in your story at all. But this code authority right here was a forerunner to the Comics Code Authority. This was maybe almost a decade before the Comics Code Authority came out. There was hubbubs and book burnings even then. People declaring that comic books were unwholesome. As a matter of fact, comic books were decried, rebutted. What's the word I want? They were run down by the guy who actually invented it. Now, we talked about famous funnies in Eastern Color Press, and a fellow who worked at Eastern Color Press named Harry Wildenberg. He's the one who actually came up with the format. Charles Gaines, Max Gaines, MC Gaines, whatever name you want to know him by, he gets a lot of the credit, but that's because for a lot of years he took the credit. Lev Gleason is another one who took the credit, and they were both there, and they played a large part. But it was Harry Wildenberg who actually came up with the format that we recognize today as the modern comic book, a so-called floppy. But he cashed out of comics in around 1939 or so, and he eventually showed up as about 10 years later, after the war, 1947. I found some newspaper articles where he was down in Florida in Key West trying to invest and start up the cigar-making industry there. And apparently he did own a cigar factory for quite a while. But he was credited in a lot of stories, newspaper articles, as the creator of the comic book, which, again, is true. He is the one who kind of came up with this format. But he really ran down the industry. He said that he wished he had not created it, that it had become such a morass of ill repute. that he forsook all connection to the industry. So anyway, that's probably more than you wanted to know. Animal Comics. Now, this is Pogo, of course. Pogo and Wally Gator. It's a very, very low condition copy, but it is Walt Kelly art. And you may not know, this is a Dell magazine, Pogo actually appeared in Animal Comics. The full run of Animal Comics appeared before the Pogo comic strip. So all of these appearances here, this predates the very famous Pogo comic strip. So there you go. And here we have, finally, last book in the box, Tower of Shadows, number 2. We've seen a few of this series here in this box already. And that's it. That's it. So now, we're going to close out by talking about boogers. and the Whatnot app. So, again, thank you for the boogers that you gave me in the comments down below. For those of you who have managed to make it through to the end of this video. At the end of the last video, I asked people to, let me know they had made it to the end of the video, because the analytics were showing me that people only watched about half of each video. That's why I was starting to try and make shorter videos. And so I asked people, if you made it to the end, just leave the word booger in the comment. You don't have to type anything else, just booger. And I got a good 12 or 18 boogers. That was nice. It was nice to know. And I think it did help with the algorithm as well, because I picked up a number of new subscribers and kind of a little bit of a rush there. I think the algorithm picked up on the greater number of comments and the longer view all the way to the end. So I am trying to drive for 1,000 subscribers. That's been the goal since we started this channel about a year and a half ago, to get to 1,000 subscribers and monetization. So I am going to run a contest. I ran a contest at 500. We're going to do a contest again this time. I don't know exactly what it is I'm going to be giving away once I hit 1,000 subscribers. I've got a little bit of time to decide. At kind of the average rate we add subscribers here, a couple, 2 or 3 a week. It's going to be a few months before we get there. So like I said, I got time to decide. But I do know that when it comes time to pick a winner, I'm going to pick a booger. So each video, I will let you know what form of booger to leave in the comments. And everybody who comments, with that form of booger, such as this time, because I am a quarter Franco-American, like quarter Black Garrett, I'm quarter Franco Duke. I'd like you to leave in the comments if you made it this far and you want to be in on the contest. Just type the words "la booger," or I don't know. People who worry about personal pronouns. I don't know how they handle a language where every word has a gender. So you can put "la booger" or "lay booger" or "les booger." Or Z booger, whatever, something though. Frenchify it for me, and that will enter you in the contest. Because here's the thing, and maybe other people have access to something I don't. But as far as I can tell, people say they run these contests and they say, leave a comment and be a subscriber. Depending on your settings, I can't tell if you're a subscriber or not. If you've got your settings set to not show that, I've got no way of knowing if you're subscribed to the channel. I mean, some people, it'll tell me so-and-so has subscribed, and I can look through a list of people who are subscribed, but I've only got about a couple hundred on that list. Most people have their accounts, their profiles set up to not share that information, so I really can't say be a subscriber and you're entered, because I can't tell if you're a subscriber. So hopefully you'll subscribe, but if not, if you want to be in the contest, then just this video, it's going to be lay booger or la booger or whatever. Next time out, it'll be some other form of booger. But each time if somebody includes that in their comment, even if it's just that, you'll get one entry. So you could get an entry into the contest for every single video if you leave the right kind of booger. And then when it comes time, once I pass 1,000 subscribers, and I'll probably wait until I get to like 1,100 or so, high enough above 1,000 that I know it's going to stick. Because sometimes you gain one, you lose two, that kind of thing. So there's the deal on that. And then also, as I mentioned, we are going to be starting, I don't know when, I think within the next week or so, we're going to be starting doing auctions. They're live auctions on the Whatnot app. It's whatnot.com, and you can download that. It's an app for your phone, but you can also do it on the desktop. But to bid, I think you have to do it on your phone or iPad. I think you can do it on Android phones as well. So yeah, I'd like you, because I'm the kind of person who's all about confusing and annoying people. That gives me a certain perverse pleasure. I think it would be fun if the owner of my company, we're doing one of these auctions, and he's like, why is everybody who comes in here like typing the word booger? What is that all about? But please do, if you don't have an account on Whatnot, go ahead and set one up. Yeah, because I believe, we've talked about me running some of the auctions, because there's an apparent belief that because I run my mouth on this channel that I would maybe be good at doing those auctions. So at least some of them I will be doing. And I'm going to push for the books that, any auctions that I do to be books that, I've unboxed and or done grading videos for. So you will have already have seen them. But do come by, set up an account on Whatnot. Come by, because there's a chat during the live auction. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to even bid, but just come by and say hello in the chat, and yeah, help confuse and annoy my boss by by leaving the word booger. All right, that's it. Until the next video, goodbye, good luck, and please be good to each other.